So, welcome colleagues. You're far away, but maybe there will be some others getting closer to us and to the speaker.
Maybe you want to come in.
Don't be shy, especially for questions after that. As always in our conferences, it's 45, 50 minutes general presentation by the speaker, and then the equivalent of time for question and answers on the issue presented. So we often organize at IFP conferences, not that often in Beaulieu, I may say, I'm afraid. Most of the time we do that in downtown. So for you, it's difficult always to join Rue Joseph II or Rue de la Loi for conferences. We have made several of them on various topics like fiscal law, succession law, fiscal impact on succession, future of Europe, health insurances, but also on nutrition, how to select appropriate food for getting and remaining in good health. And on this occasion, we had several questions about, because one of the topic was health to proper nutrition to prevent burnout. And then from this topic of conferences, we switched to how to detect possible burnout coming and how to repair if needed. And we get in contact with Mrs. Evra, which is a specialist of the question, you will see. He has a lot of good ideas on how to avoid going down to burnout, or if you ever experience it, how to come out of it. And she published Guide du Burnout. I believe the translation in English is about to come.
In Dutch we have already.
In Dutch it's already there, but not yet in English. So we did a similar conference in French in town, in Rue de la Loi. It's now in English here. I'm sure you are here to listen to her rather than to me. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello everyone. I will prefer to stand. Can you hear me? Does the microphone work if I'm standing? Hello. Thank you for being here today. Are you feeling well where you are, or would you like to come a little bit closer? Fine like that, everyone? Okay. I'm happy to be here, not only to be able to talk about the prevention of burnout and how to make sure that your energy level remains correct, also because I feel a little bit like a children of the European institution. My father started at the European Commission. This building didn't exist, but the Berlaymont, in 1963. And he has worked his whole life at the European Commission and European Court of Auditors in Luxembourg, so I've been to 2 European schools. I've done myself the stage, the Commission stage in the EU delegation in Moscow, and then I took another way. But I'm very happy to be here today with you. Originally, I'm a lawyer. I've been working for 20 years in the telecom sector, first in an English law firm, Allen & Overy, and then as a HR and legal director with a telecom operator in Belgium. Then I worked for the Belgian Minister of Telecom, and I was in charge of the telecom sector here. A lot of contacts. There was European presidency or Belgian presidency of the European Union in that time. Then I started a company with my husband, and 2 years later, on a Saturday morning, I opened my eyes and I thought, wow, I don't know what's going on, but I won't be able to stand up. The week before, I had been functioning pretty well, good enough. I've been working the whole week. I've been taking care of my family and children in the evening. I definitely had all the pre-signs of burnout, but I had no idea that was coming with those consequences. And what were the consequences? The first 3 months I slept 18 hours a day. The rest of the first year I was at home in pajamas. And the second year I started to understand what was going on with me, what is burnout, how can you avoid it, and how can you come out of it. So that's a little bit for an introduction. And during that period I was feeling very isolated at home, not getting the right information, and I had the feeling that all people with burnout were in the same situation. So I decided to write that book that could help people understand what's going on in our society in the 21st century. Why are part of our best people getting down, and how can you recover after it? And that's the book that Mr. Bakri just showed. Maybe I'll start with clarifying concepts. What is the difference between being tired and being in burnout, and what is the difference between being in burnout and having a depression? Because during a long period I was feeling that that was not very clear to everyone. What is the difference between being tired and a burnout? Imagine that each of you is and now I'm not sure, water dam, you say that in English? Un barrage? Yeah, a water dam, thank you. Imagine that you are a water dam, and when everything is okay, the water is calm, it's sunny, no wind. All of us 20 years ago, let's say. The problems start when you are doing more and more. Maybe you are stressed because your agenda is extremely full, or because you have some issues at work or at home, and you feel that your dam, the water dam, is getting more and more under pressure. During that period, you can say that you're tired, maybe even very tired, but with changing some small things in your life, you could bring back calm on your own water dam. Imagine you take 1 week off, holiday, or you start doing sports again, and it will help you just to calm down and find your rhythm again. The real problems occur when you don't listen to that dam that is under pressure, and you continue to do exactly the same way, maybe even more. You take new files, and at one point, and it's really in a second of time, your water dam is breaking, and you have some smaller breaks, smaller burnout, if that exists, or larger break in your water dam, and then it can be a heavier burnout. Imagine that from that moment you have to understand, and it's not that easy, how you will succeed in repairing your water dam. That looks very much more difficult than just putting some calm back. And then once you succeeded in that, you have to wait until the level of water, the level of energy, comes back to the original level. And that can take definitely months or sometimes years. Okay? From the moment your water dam breaks, you are in burnout. It can also make the difference between burnout and depression, because when I was ill, many people tend to say that burnout was a form of depression. That is not the case. There are two different illnesses. If you take the depression, you could say that that is the illness of sadness. You are sad in all aspects of your life. It can be private, it can be professional. If you are in burnout, it's not the illness of sadness, it's the illness of energy. Your head would like to continue like before, but your body doesn't allow it. Usually, it's also more in the aspects of your life that became difficult and that cost you a lot of energy, that you will feel really not able to continue. It could be that, for instance, if you go on holiday during the burnout illness, you are out of your day-to-day problems, and you will feel somehow better for that period. If I say that there are two different illnesses, I would like also immediately to clarify that for the depression you have a pill, medicine. What is it? Antidepressant. For burnout, unfortunately, it doesn't exist a pill of energy. We would like to have it. Many of us would take it. But you will need to do something else. You would need to understand in which aspects of your life you lost energy, and then you will need to introduce some change in your life. Because if you continue to think and to do like you did before, you will exhaust yourself again. So you need to do some change. Usually you do that with a psychotherapist, but you didn't choose to do that psychotherapy. So it takes a time before you can accept that you need to change. And that maybe explains also part of the time that Burnies, like I call them, need to recover from their illness. It's the time to introduce change and accept change in their life. Does that clarify the concepts?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Then, also interesting, I think, a little bit provocative maybe, but is it a new trend, burnout? Is it something that people feel happy to have in their life? Did we become more lazy than our parents? Or did something change in our society nowadays that makes that some of the people can't go further? Because one needs to realize that you don't have burnouts in South America, you don't have them in Africa. It's something from our countries today. Because even if we know the concept of burnout since the late 70s, it has been for the first time described by a New York psychiatrist, Freudenberger, and it has remained very isolated for some decades. But definitely since 5 to 10 years we have an explosion of burnouts everywhere in Europe. So to take Belgian statistics, Securex, who is a local human resources company, has made an enquête in 2014, and they arrived at the conclusion that in Belgium 1 out of 10 workers are at high risk of burnout. Securex did the same enquête in 2017, 3 years later. They arrived at the conclusion that it's 1 out of 6 workers that are at high risk of burnout. So there's something going on in our society that makes the people feel really very much under pressure. So what happens in our society? Something has changed compared with the lives of our parents. For me, I can summarize in 3 blocks what has changed. What do you think that changed in your life? What has changed the 10 or 20 last years? Can you, 1, 2, 3 things?
Quickness.
Sorry?
Quickness.
Quickness, acceleration, definitely, I come back on that.
Internet.
The same?
Mobile
phones. That's the second one. Something else?
automation.
Yeah, automation, emails. Exactly. These,
pressure.
yeah, pressure. These things indeed change in our lives, and I will try to put some words on the 3 aspects. The first one is acceleration. Acceleration at work with the arrival of computers, internet, and emails approximately 20 years ago. When I was a young lawyer with Allen and Overy, they put a lot of pressure on their young lawyers to work hard, but I got 3 faxes per day and maybe 2 paper letters, real paper letters at 11 when the postman had come along. And I was busy, definitely 8-9 hours a day. Nothing to do with the rhythm today when you have to read and answer 100, 200, 300 emails per day. That means that you have more information that you need to process faster, and the answers come faster as well, so all your files are handled faster than before. But it's not only in your professional lives that the pace of living has changed, also in our private lives. If I remember when I was a child, my parents said, oh, choose one activity outside school that you would like to do. I chose dancing, 1 hour a day on the Wednesday afternoon. When I had my burnout 5 years ago, my oldest son, he was 10 at that time, he had 8 different activities per week. So he'd say, but you're crazy. Am I crazy? I don't know. It started when he was 6 years old. We said, oh, it's so nice, 6 years, it's the age where in Belgium you can start the scouts on the Sunday afternoon. Nice. 2 years later, I said, oh, it's music class, it's organized in his school, it's for free, great, but it's 2 times the notes, and then 1 time the instruments. And then a year later, that little boy said, but I would like to play football, actually. And we didn't say, okay, but then let's cancel something. We said, scouting is important, music is important, and football, yes, of course, but then it's 2 trainings and 1 match in the weekends. And then that year, there was an English woman at school. She was working here at the European Commission. And she said, oh, we'll start an English class for children. Would you like to join for your son? Which, English is important for the future of our children. And we accepted it. And then after my week of work in the office, I had to do all these taxis, bring the children, get them back, organize with other parents. It was a second life after my week of working. This was just an example to illustrate, but I think that many of us can recognize that compared with the childhood we have had, we put much more activities on the agendas of our children, but also on our own agendas. Imagine the city trips. It didn't exist, these flight tickets for €19.99 20 years ago. You stayed at home in the weekend, or maybe you went to the Ardennes or the Belgian seaside, but now you're going to Barcelona or Rome for 4 days, very nice, but it means that the week before, first you have to organize all these things online in the evening on your computer. Instead of resting, you are again on the computer to organize the city trip. Then you have to work faster before, because you will take 2 days off to go for that city trip. When you are there, you don't rest because there's so much to see in Rome or Barcelona. You drink a little bit more. The bed is not as good as at home. So actually, you don't rest, you walk all the day, you drink a little bit more, you sleep less. And when you come back to the office, you have 500 mails waiting from Thursday and Friday because you weren't in the office. So actually, it's 3 weeks of damn under pressure when you make a city trip. Just examples, but we live faster. And in a second I will explain why living faster can be a problem. Because as such it could be nice to live that fast. Second thing that changed in our lives arrived 10 years ago. Someone said it, but can't repeat it. What arrived 10 years ago in our lives, and we all have it now? Smartphones. Smartphones, can you show who has his professional emails on the smartphone? Yeah, okay. Still, probably 1/3. The people that have the professional emails on the smartphone are at high risk, that there is no frontier anymore between the professional life and the private life, because we are curious animals. And that means that in the morning we like, before arriving at work, seeing if something happens during the night. If you are at lunch outside, you will check, maybe waiting for the bill in the restaurant, you will check very fast, your emails. In the evening, waiting that the rice is cooking, you just check. So that's a problem, because it means that there is no moment where you think or you say, my day of work is over and now I go to something else. You don't have that switch anymore. But for all of us, smartphone has brought a huge change. It means that in addition to the hundreds of mail that our brains are getting every day and must remember and process, we will put even more information to our brains before arriving at work, in public transportation, during the breaks that you do in the day, in the evening, in the weekends. And now I will give 2 medical informations about this acceleration and these smartphones to understand which impact they can have on our bodies. What we know is that burnout is an exhaustion, physical, emotional, mental exhaustion. It's a result of stress, that we know. But it's only one of the 200 illnesses you could get because of modern stress. But you could have a heart stroke, or how do you call it, head stroke, say it like that, or you could increase your risk of cancer. There are many illnesses linked to stress. burnout is the one I got. I could have had something else. So it's an illness due to stress. Everything I will tell during this conference on how to reduce your level of stress will help you not only to avoid the risk of burnout, but to avoid a whole bunch of other possible illnesses. So those are really little tricks that can help to bring some calm down and live in a healthier way. So what is stress actually? Actually, stress is when the stress hormones come in your body. Do you know there are two stress hormones? Can someone say one or the other?
Cortisol.
Cortisol is the first one. When you are stressed?
Adrenaline.
And adrenaline, exactly. There are two hormones of stress. They are produced here. Two little places, the surrenal, the surrenals. They are produced in your body, and actually the rhythm of life that we have makes that many of us have more stress than before, just to have to answer all these emails, prepare your meeting, go to the supermarket during lunchtime, get your children at school in time, and it's already stress actually. And stress, when your stress hormones arrive in your body, that wouldn't be a problem as such, because you could have positive stress. Under the condition that several times per day, you bring these stress hormones back to a normal level, a neutral level. And that is exactly what we lack these days. We stay there with a lot of things to do, and we don't realize that we have so much stress hormones in the body. When you stay too long with these stress hormones, some weeks, some months, your body will start to show signs of unwellness. And I'll come back. What are these signs that are very recognizable? That's the first thing. Acceleration brings these levels of stress pretty easily to a high level. The second thing medicine has, or research has learned to us about smartphones now, is that your brains needs not only the night to recover, that is very important, but in addition to the night, your brain will need some moment of rest during the day. Moments where nothing happens. Those moments are used by the brain to give a place to the information that you have crossed during your day. And we know we cross a lot of information nowadays, only the emails and what we read in that. And not only that the brain gives a place to the information, also it makes your personality evolve. Neuroscientists know that personality evolves during these little moments of nothing during the day. Problem is with smartphones, we don't have these little moments of nothing anymore, because as soon as there is one moment you're waiting for the lift, or you're at the red traffic light, or you are in the supermarket and they didn't open a new casa, but there are two people before you, we all are the same. We take our smartphone and we don't give this little moments of rest to our brains. So if you have only to remember two things of today, remember that you will be more healthy if consciously you bring your stress hormones, I will give you some tricks for that, but to a neutral level. If you remember this movement of I need to slow down. And if you remember that if there is a little moment of nothing, smile to yourself and think, I'm doing something healthy for myself, I don't pick up my smartphone. Do you know how many times per day we pick up our smartphone?
More than maybe 100.
More than
maybe 100 times.
More than 100 times, indeed. On average, we pick up the smartphone 150 times per week, per day. Of course, per week would be nice, per day. And we encounter 2,600 screens. Every time you scroll, it's one screen, one screen, one screen. It's a lot of information. If you can reduce that, it will be very healthy for your brains and very healthy for your body. Okay? But now I close the two medical medical information I gave to you on stress hormones and the brain's functioning, and I come back to what changed in our society. So I said acceleration of private and professional lives. What was the second one? Smartphone, exactly. What changed as a third major thing is the way of working. I think since the 70s, the oil crisis and the globalization, we know that things have changed. But definitely, since 2008 and the bank crisis, things have accelerated enormously. Remember, what does it mean, bank crisis? It means that member states have financed the banks, so member states have less money, and on the other side of the banks, our companies were afraid not to get the loans from their bank any longer, and they start doing some cost cutting. The only priority of all our managers and chefs the 10 last years has been to become lean and mean. Cost cutting, cost in personnel, but also cost of functioning. You all know this, it's not different for European institutions. You have had to work longer hours. Members that you don't know is the Brexit, which impact it will have on the budgets. There is a pressure that you feel like in the Belgian administrations or the private companies or the hospitals or the schools. The schools, they have the same number of teachers, but there are more children, but there are no more teachers. Well, the pressure is higher and higher. And here again, you can say, yeah, but maybe we could evolve like that. It was okay. Probably part of it was okay, but if so many people feel quite stressed today, it's because there is a lot of pressure. So my guess is that in the 10 coming years, we will slow down the pace of transformation, and we will bring back more human in our companies, in our functioning. Another way to describe burnout is to say that it's the illness of too much and something is not right any longer. Too much can be the quantity. We have seen together that the quantity of things we do is much higher than before. But you also know people that rush all the time and they feel perfectly healthy, they look perfectly healthy, and it's okay. And it's true. It can be that you do a lot and it's your body allows it. But as soon as something unnice or not right for you any longer, maybe it was right 10 years ago, but now your children are older, or your parents in your home country are getting older, and something is uncomfortable. It's that makes people break. It's the combination of too much in quantity and something that is not good any longer. And the not good can be a lack of recognition. For many people, in the 2 years before their burnout, something happened, usually in their work environment, but it could also be in your private environment. Something changed where you don't feel that comfortable with it any longer. Sometimes when there is so much pressure and deadlines, and or for you, bureaucracy works the same way, but I will talk about bureaucracy afterwards. You would have new boss with new objectives or new colleague that is more difficult. That would be for you the not nice element. Lack of recognition could be we are so busy in answering our emails that we forget maybe to ask to our colleagues, how was your day? I liked really much the file you did. We are always already in the next file. Everything must go so fast that we forget basic things like saying thank you as a boss, but also between colleagues. Some of you do work in open spaces, or do you all? Who has an open space office? It's very little, very nice. Because those people, they have even more noise around them, that they want to be in a bubble and they don't want to talk to their colleagues. And we know that working environments that are more friendly create less burnout. So it's really also very good for your health to be nice to your colleagues and to really create a nice working environment. We are not only here to get our salary at the end of the month or to answer 200 emails a day, we are also here, and that's a large part of it, for the human interactions. Make them nice, know what their colleagues do in their private time. That is an element that helps to remain happy in your work environment. And happiness gives energy. Lack of sense is also, imagine you work in, will less be the case for you, but all of us would like to have a better environment, to live in a more healthy way, to eat better food, etc. And imagine that is the case because you have children and it gets really important for you, but you work in a company that pollutes a lot and wants only to make a good financial margin but doesn't care about the environment. Maybe 10 years ago it was fine for you, but nowadays it's lacking sense. There is no sense for you to doing that work anymore. Our parents, they didn't ask themselves, am I happy where I work or not? I remember my father, he worked for 45 years in the European institution. I've never heard him a single time saying, I'm not that happy, I'm thinking of changing work. The day of today, many people think of I will change department, or just because we have a more critical view on our working environment. And it's not good or bad, but then you realize sometimes that it doesn't make sense anymore, you don't get recognition, the work environment is not that nice, and that influences you, and will be the element of a lot in quantity, and in addition the not right for you nowadays. So these shits, we have changed with that. Okay, it's a matter of fact. You can do your best, and that's very good and important to have a nice working environment, to find activities in your work that you like very much. At the end of the day, you know that we are in a working environment that is more pressurizing, and that is a factor of risk. Okay, you will take it into account in your balance of energy. Because another way again to speak about burnout is to say that it's a disbalance between the energy you get and the energy you give out. Okay, so if you know that your working environment costs you some energy, then it's very important that you receive good sources of energy to have a good balance. Okay, burnout is really when the energy you give is less good. Now that I have explained it, do you agree with most of the things I say? Can you recognize yourself in the description of the society, how it changed? Yeah. Then we'll talk about two different things now, and then we'll go to the questions and answers, but not yet. We have to listen a little bit more. The first one is how to recognize the pre-burnout signs, because it's not a virus or bacteria you get in the metro or in the bus, so it develops over time. So how to recognize it in time, because then you can take active resolutions to change things in time. And then I would like to explain what gives energy, what are the sources of energy for a human being, and what costs energy. If we start with the pre-burnout signs, do you have an idea what could be a pre-sign? Someone getting in the direction of exhaustion, where would you see with that person or yourself?
Lack of concentration, less concentration.
Lack of concentration, yes.
Isolation sometimes.
Isolation, yes.
Cynicism.
Come on.
People becoming cynical.
Cynicism, yeah.
Feeling very tired.
Yes, very tired.
Aggression.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. What you describe is mainly already, yes, say?
Forgetting things.
Forgetting things, absolutely. All that has been said are actually already really very late in the process. You can recognize signs much earlier. Actually, there are 3 groups of pre-burnout signs, and they build up in the time. The first one will be when your stress hormones remains high for some weeks, some months. You will start having all kind of physical complaints. Headache, regular headache, problems with your neck, shoulders, arms, stomach, digestion, allergies, food allergies, eczema. All these things that show that there are too much stress hormones and that your body is unhappy. For me, it started approximately a year and a half before my burnout. I started getting problems in my right arm, pain, somehow pain. I go to the doctor regularly, so I went to an osteopath. 1, 2, 3 sessions, and well, it wouldn't help. So I just continue my work and taking care of my children and their 8 activities per day, and I didn't change anything. I tried to solve it. Well, that's it. I continue my life. Second group of things that happen when you continue with high stress hormones would be everything linked to your sleep. Either you cannot get in sleep because there is too much in your head going on and you think of tomorrow and all the things you need and problems, or you sleep in like a brick and you woke up around 3 or 4 in the morning and you stay awake for an hour or 2 because as soon as you are awake, your brain starts functioning and the to-do list is active again. For me, it started approximately a year before my burnout. I woke up at 3, 4 in the morning, but it was not every night. It was only 4 or 5 times a week. So I never stopped saying, okay, now I sit down and I think about why am I not sleeping well? I just continue living. And now, maybe some of you have seen it when entering, but it was a little bit protected here. This is a bowl full of spoons, small spoons. In my book, I developed a theory that explains how you can quantify your own level of energy. Imagine that all of us, 10 years ago, we woke up in the morning with 50 spoons of energy every morning. Everything we do costs us 1, 2, 3 spoons of energy. At the end of the day, we've had a good day with a lot of activities. We've used our spoons. We go to sleep the next day, 50 spoons, and you start your day again. Imagine when, since almost a year, I'm not sleeping well any longer. Well, when I woke up, I don't have 50 spoons because sleep is the first source of energy. Maybe I have 40 only. Did I change something in my agenda? Did I work less because I was not sleeping well? Did I say to the children, why you stop football because Mama is not sleeping very well, I don't want to bring you a... No, you continue exactly the same agenda, which means that you're using 50 spoons a day, where actually you have only 40. Which means that every day, since 1 year before my burnout, I was taking some energy in my reserves because I didn't have the energy that I gave out. Okay? And that works for a time. And then our bodies are no machines. It's not that you can pressurize them as long as you want and it will be fun. No, it's not fun because your body is a human being and has its own limits. Just to give you, that you can understand, if you know someone who is burnout or a colleague that is not at work at the moment, that Saturday morning when I woke up saying, ooh, I have a problem, I won't be able to stand up, I had only 3 spoons. And that was, for my 3 first months of burnout, I had 3 spoons a day. So you can do just nothing. Don't expect from your colleagues that they will come back after 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, because everyone should be fine after that time. And only tell you, for me, the first 3 months I had only that. It's survival. Huh? It's just washing yourself, getting dressed before 4 when the children come back from school, and eating at the family table in the evening. don't ask me to cook, to stand up for the children in the morning. People with burnout, they had dream of doing like before. It's the body that doesn't allow it. So don't force people that you would know and say, allez, allez, move on, it's not good to stay in your pyjama, you should go out and do something, it will help. Trust them that they do the best that they can with the number of spoons that they have. That was a parenthesis. I was telling you the pre-signs of burnout, so let's see if everyone is still awake. What was the first types of burnout signs everybody would show?
Physical complaints.
Physical complaints, exactly, all the physical complaints. The second one's sleeping problem. And then the third group is all, and you talked that there were the examples that many of you gave. It's all that is linked to the change of personality, change of humor, of mood. So you will see people that were open and positive and friendly, staying more in their office. They don't come to the cafeteria to get coffee with the colleagues any longer. They stay with closed door. People become very irritable. In a meeting, they explode. That's because they are exhausted. Or people start crying easily. They become cynical. Yeah, anyhow, in the European Commission, you can never get something done. At the time it goes to the cabinet and comes down, it's over again. And people don't like their jobs anymore. And well, that's the kind of things that you will find with people that are extremely exhausted. For me, it was 3 weeks before my burnout that it started. For me, I was irritable and cynical. I had clients, but I found all the clients extremely difficult and their demands were excessive, and it was only 3 weeks before. In that period, the weeks before a crash, you will see, some of you said that it was also, you will start making mistakes, forget things. That's really a sign that your brains are exhausted, are overheating when you start forgetting things. That's not normal. A human being can remember. I know we have a lot of emails, but for a long period it was okay. So if you start forgetting things, that is a sign that something is going on in your body. And it really goes to the complete lose of self-confidence. People that have had fantastic careers with promotion every 2, 3, 4 years start thinking that they are incompetent, that the hierarchy will find out and they will lose their job or function, or they will retire, take back the files. They don't trust themselves. It's really a complete personality of that person that breaks. Those are the pre-signs. So now that we are able to identify what happens in the body, what could you do to prevent it? Well, first of all, understand that if burnout is a disbalance between the level of energy you have and the energy you give out, but then how do you get energy? That's the basics. How do you think you get energy, a human being? From what do you get energy? There are four items I'd like to discuss.
Good sleep.
Good sleep, number one. Do nothing. That's a good. It doesn't give energy, but it doesn't cost energy. And in the balance, if you have 50 spoons, if you do nothing, you don't give them up. So that's good. So, good sleep. Or there are other sources of energy. Huh? Food. Food. What did you say? Laughing. Pleasure. Absolutely. One more, and then we go a little more. Sports. Exactly. Perfect. Remember those 4 things: sleep, food and drinks, movement, sports, and pleasure. These are the 4 sources of energy for human beings. Let's start with the first one. Sleep. 95, I don't say it, I'm a lawyer. I read books and I meet doctors and I pick up what I think I would have liked to know before. 95% of people need 8 hours of sleep a night. So that's set. Okay? Just think of your way of living, and I don't get 8 hours every night, I must admit. But that is what we should have to have a maximum of energy. Most of us, it's 8 hours. If you don't get them during the night, you can get them through doing afternoon nap. You have closed office, maybe you can post it 15 minutes. Now, yesterday evening I was at the, it was a prize in Belgium for the Enterprise of the Year. And the CEO made a speech of 5 minutes. In these 5 minutes, he had a lot of people to thank and explain how his company was fantastic. One of the things he said is that they installed a nap room in that company. It's a small company, 300 employees in Brussels. Google does it as well. They have relaxation rooms. The idea is, we all know that when you have a little bit a lunch that is somehow heavier, afterwards you feel a little bit, oh, it's your digestion that takes a lot of energy, you're a little bit tired. If you sleep 15 minutes or just close your eyes and relax for 15 minutes, you will be more productive, more creative, more concentrated. So it's really a win-win for your employer, the work of your department, and for yourself, because you're recharging your batteries. So maybe you can think if this is something good for you. Also, I'll make a little interruption in that, but if all of you could think, I would say now a lot of little tips that gives energy or avoid to give energy out. Maybe for yourself, you pick up 3 things where you say, oh yeah, in my life that would apply and that would help to increase my level of energy or increase my quality of life. Pick up, you don't have to share them with us afterwards, but take them back in your office with you, things that you will try to implement or change a little bit in the coming days or weeks. So afternoon sleep could be one of your 3 tricks. But also you can do that in the weekend if you haven't had your 8 hours a night in the week. Maybe you can put in your agenda or meeting with yourself, I'm going to do a nap on Sunday because actually I feel with a change of weather I feel a little bit tired. Listen to yourself and say, okay, that would be healthy, the nap. So sleeping is very important. Food and drink, I'm not a nutritionist, you've had a session on that, but just remember some basic stuff. The breakfast is the most important meal in your day. Don't drink 2, 3, 4 coffees between 7 in the morning and lunchtime, and you have no quality energy. Coffee gives no energy. It's nice to drink, but it gives no energy. So make sure you have a breakfast, that you get some extra spoons in the morning, preferably salty breakfast, that's important. Try to avoid industrial sugars. So all the soft drinks, they are bad friends. You think that you have more energy and then your energy level goes deeper than it was before your soda. So avoid that. Remember for yourself, when you feel tired, if you have a child that is tired, you will put that child for an afternoon nap and it will be nice and smiling afterwards again. Remember that and don't take what adults do. A coffee, a soda, some chocolate, a Belgian waffle. If you are tired, give something healthy that gives good energy to your body and avoid all the sugar stuff that is not a good friend. What we know also from people that go up to burnout is that they usually develop some dependencies in the pre-period pre-burnout period, I wanted to say. If you're stressed from your day, imagine that you come at home and the first thing you do is take a glass of wine or beer, because it will give you a sensation of relaxation, rapid relaxation. But again, it's a false friend, so if you like drinking something, do it in the weekend or just one glass, but people tend to need more relaxation stuff. And so they increase their consumption of alcohol, sugar, coffee, sometimes drugs, cigarettes, all these. When people start taking more of those, It's usually a sign that the level of energy is not good. Third thing is movement. For instance, I stopped going, I like swimming, I stopped going to the swimming pool approximately a half year before my burnout. Why? But just because I was rushing all the time, I was feeling less well with my bad nights, and then I stopped moving. And that's not good, because through movement you will have your stress hormones that come down naturally. You will evacuate them faster from your body. So definitely do something with your body. At least, for me, the strict minimum that everyone should do and find time to do is walk 10 minutes in the morning and walk 10 minutes after work. Put your car two streets further from your office or from your home, and you are obliged to work 10 minutes. During that time, don't pick up your smartphone. No? Just, voila. And you will see that if you have some pain somewhere, you will feel it while walking. That's a good sign to say, oh, okay, but actually I have some tension, and by walking it will go away. If you want to do more sports, it's good, huh? be clear on that. But at least walk 2 times 10 to 15 minutes every day. Maybe that is what you want to pick up on your list of 3 things you will change. 4th thing is pleasure. People with a burnout usually have served very well their boss, their colleagues, their partner, their children, their parents. At the end of the day, there is no time left when you've done all that of the program to serve yourself with things that are really good for you. Try at least to have 15 minutes a day, something only for you. It can be that walking, maybe you put some music because you like walking with music, but at least 15 minutes only for yourself and something pleasant, not ironing. Huh? Don't tell me that relaxes you. It's nice, but is it really for yourself? No, it's because somehow it has to happen. And at least in the weekend, or at least per week, 1 to 2 hours only for you. It's not that much, but people tend not to take the time for themselves. So is it seeing a friend, going to the cinema on your own, go swimming, then you put sports and pleasure together. Find it out for yourself, but think every Sunday afternoon you could take 10 minutes or 20 minutes to look back at your week and say, have I taken enough time for myself? Did I sleep well? Was my food and drink good? And think for the coming weeks, does my agenda look like? Is it not too heavy? Could I scrap some stuff that is not necessarily, or that I will postpone to the week thereafter? So you split your activities, you do all of what you want to do, but you split it on a longer time, and you don't use all your spoons immediately. That's pleasure. And then I will conclude, and we'll come to the questions and answers. What costs energy? Well, what costs energy? Everything we do costs energy. Definitely the quantity of what we do costs a lot of spoons. If our parents had 50 spoons a day, we can really ask ourselves, do we not use 60 every day? Because I was talking, if you sleep well, you have only 40, you use 50. But compared to the lifestyle of your parents, of our parents, don't we use, all of us, 60 every day? So are we not taking a little bit too much in our reserves? And as I said, it works for some time, but at one point, the reserves are too low. So if you slow down, that's the first advice. Slow down in the number of activities. People tend to understand very well what it means in their private lives, but in their professional life, they tend to say, I have all these files and I'm not deciding on my agenda. That's true, but you can decide. For instance, the typical tricks, you have heard them before. Don't look at your emails all the time. Keep them closed and look at them depending on the job you have and what is possible in your function. Open them twice a day, 3 times a day. In many functions, that's sufficient. Always start in the morning with things that ask a lot of concentration. After the night, in the morning, it's the best moment to chase elephants, your big fights, and keep chasing rabbits for later in the day, reading your emails, answering small questions. You will be much more satisfied of yourself and your work if you organize your day like that. Take the energy in the morning to say, okay, I go for the big stuff. Also something that helps really well, remember this movement of these stress hormones. How do you bring them back several times a day? For instance, you can respirate better. We know that people tend to respirate from here to there because we are sitting in on a chair in front of a computer. We don't breathe. Breathe, thank you. Respirate is really not the fourth friend. Doesn't exist. Sorry. Breathe really well. What I advise for people who like that type of things, if you don't take it. But put an alarm in the beginning. Every hour, you stop doing what you're doing, unless you are in a meeting and you have no choice. But imagine you are in front of your computer. You stop. You say, for 2 minutes, I take time for myself now and I bring back my stress hormones. How do you do that? By breathing. I'd like to do it 3 times. The way you can do it if you like it, but then at least you have experimented 1 time. What we will do is try to inhale and exhale in 10 seconds. We will do it 3 times. And we will start exhaling. So that's a good way to put all the stress and the pressure around. Is it okay for you? If you want to close your eyes, you do. It's a nice feeling. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't. So we start. Okay, that has been 3 times, it took 30 seconds. Doctor's advice to do it 2 minutes. It's a good timing. You will see that your stress hormones are to a neutral level. When you will restart what you were doing, you will be calmer, maybe concentrated. That's the way. If you don't like that because it doesn't feel okay for myself, important is that you stop at least every 1.5 to 2 hours maximum in what you are doing. You need to stand up, walk a little bit, go to the kitchen or cafeteria, take some drink there. Don't take a soda and you bring it back. No. Take something healthy in the kitchen, bring a colleague with you, 5-minute break. Don't look at your smartphone during that time, and you will see that's the same effect when you come back to your desk. All your body feels better, your concentration is better. Okay? These little things calm down during the day. Okay? Calm down. Second thing, smartphones, I'll go fast on that, but what is the answer to too much information? Less information. We call them white hours, hours with no screen, especially the smartphones. Try to, in the weekend, 12 hours without a smartphone is such a nice feeling. Try not to look on your smartphone before you arrive in the office. It's just a question of starting doing it that way. You will see, you will feel better, calmer, you will be happy with yourself. And then the third thing that we talked about that is try to create a nice working environment, nice life with nice people. If you have toxic people in your environment, try to let them on the side, because that costs a lot of energy. That is what I wanted to tell you. Thank you for that, for listening, and I'm happy to take your questions, comments, remarks.
Thank you for sharing your experience and your advice for us.
Thank you.
floor is yours. You've been concentrating a lot on how to detect and avoid maybe reaching the stage of food burnout. Maybe the questions will be elements on if you ever fall into the trap, how do you get out of it? Who starts? Lady. Use your mic, please.
Thank you very much. I just wonder if on the paper did you speak a little bit about who is at risk of exhaustion? Normally,
Okay.
I think I should, but just to be sure. And second, yes, when we have a severe burnout, how can we get out? But really with a severe one. And what are the risks if you still don't recover regarding health, physical health?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who is at risk of a burnout? Indeed, I could have talked about that. Originally, it was said that there were rather perfectionist people. There are some professions that are more at risk, especially the people that are in contact with the public, so teachers, doctors, in customer services. They are in contact with customers. It was said that those were the professions more at risk. The day that you say that 1 out of 6 is at risk of burnout, it could be everyone. But what we know is that there are always people that are dynamic, enthusiastic. They like to perform, they like to do things well in all aspects of their life, at work, at home. Maybe a little bit perfectionist, but remember it was a quality before to do things properly, and today you will hear, oh, you were too perfectionist, that's why you get a burnout. And why is it the people that are a little bit perfectionist? It's because when the amount of stuff increases, they don't try to work less good to protect themselves and keep some spoons of energy left. No, they will do everything the right way, and they will do more and more. And then if you combine that with a new boss or a new objective, a new work that you don't like, and take the example of the boss, you don't get the recognition from that new boss because it doesn't like the way you work, or is always complaining on little stuff that doesn't work, but not on all the stuff you've done well. That person will go more and more to get that recognition. And it will not listen to his body or her body. It will just perform harder and harder to get that recognition because it's important for that person that everyone thinks it's a good person that performs well. So these are the characteristics. To answer your second question, but that's we could take an hour. I will make it short. I think to recover from a burnout, light, medium, or severe, is always the same path. You need a good doctor that understands what your illness is and doesn't confuse with depression. I say that, and of course I have a lot of respect for doctors and their heart and lung education they have. But my niece just terminated 7 years of medicine studies in Brussels. I asked her what do they explain about burnout. And it's probably the first reason for long-term absence at work. Not a single word was said. And she's 25, she's getting on, she starts as a doctor next week, and she knows nothing about that illness. That's still, I think, a little bit weak. So find a good doctor that understands your illness. You will decide with the doctor whether you take some medicine or not. Sometimes antidepressiva helps people in burnout not to get even deeper and fall into depression. So, but not everyone has the antidepressiva. That's for the doctor to decide. Second step, very important, is go to a psychiatrist or psychotherapist, someone really competent, not a life coach, or that's not sufficient when you are in real trouble. And with that person, you will learn to put yourself back in the center of your life, learn to say no to others and say no to yourself. Because for myself, I had no boss, so it's not the bad boss, I was my own boss, but I wanted to reach too much. And also as a mother, I wanted to be the perfect mother. No one asked me to do that. I had to learn saying no to myself, like 8 activities a week for one child. It's abusive, it's too much. But I wanted that. It's not the child, because when we ask our children, okay, it's too much, now choose your preferred activity and we keep it to that, one activity a week. They both chose football and they said, it's over with music, it's over with scouts. And so they were very happy. Just to illustrate that actually you have to learn saying no to yourself, because in the 21st century, you can do everything from your life. Everything is accessible with 3 clicks, but learn to say no to yourself. That's with a psychiatrist. And also you have to identify where you lost energy. For me, it was my work and the way I was a mother. But then you have to change the way you are. Try to be a less perfect mother. In theory, okay. In practice, you don't know how to do differently. So the psychologist or psychiatrist will help you identify where you need to change and to implement the change. Voilà. And with falls and tries and things that work and don't work, and that takes some time. You need to become less perfectionist. Yeah, you don't do that overnight. So get experienced help. The third thing you absolutely need to do is reconcile yourself with your body. The burnout, another way, another definition again, is to say that it's a kind of divorce between the head that wants so much and the body that was saying since months and years, sometimes, I'm not happy anymore, we have to change something, and the head wouldn't like to listen. Now the body doesn't want to do any longer like before. You have to reconcile those two. It means that you need to do soft stuff with your body just to, next time when you have headache, you sit down and you think, oh, I have headache, what does my body want to say to me? Instead of taking just an aspirin and forget about it. Voilà. So you have to reconcile yourself with your body. These are the 3 things I think that are important. The more older you are, the longer it takes. Because also you have damage in your brains. It takes time. You can recover from these damages, but it takes time for the neurons and the synapse to get back and be renewed in your brains. And that goes slowly with older persons. And then to answer the last aspect of your question, if it stays too long, you burn out, are you at risk of something else? The day that your dam is breaking, it's not only that you keep what you had as problems, for me the arm ache, or that everything is good at once. No, the day it breaks, you keep some of the problems, physical problems you had before, and in addition, because all your body decompensated, you will get additional new problems. It's not new illnesses, but there are consequences of the dam that breaks. But for me, it was heart. Who helps me?
Palpitations?
Yes, palpitation. Voilà. I couldn't go a stair without having my heart going very fast. I had stomach problems that I never had before my burnout, and that lasts for 6 to 9 months. But for the heart palpitation, it was 2 to 3 years. During that period, your immunity is less. So yes, you can get a whole bunch of additional illnesses. So that's a good advice for people who would make burnout wisdom, would experience a burnout. Take care of your health. You have only one body and you have no second chance, so make sure you don't go to burnout. And if you have it, be nice to yourself, allow yourself resting. That's extremely difficult for people in burnout. Learn to rest and don't use their spoons. People with burnout, if they have 10 spoons in the morning, they should use only 7, plus do 3 to 4 afternoon naps, not 1, no. They must really try to rest, and that's difficult to get back their energy. And then your chance is better to avoid getting other illnesses. but that's a risk. Yes?
Question?
I
Next
have questions. One of them is not too personal. What are the exact changes that you made to your life, except from reducing the extracurricular activities? But what other changes
Yeah.
you did in your programs? And the second one, knowing from your dad's experience, it's certainly from the college.
Can you speak closer to the mic?
Okay, sorry. And the second question, it has to do with our work in the Commission, which you certainly know already from your dad's experience, and also from the colleagues who are sitting next to you, and it's certainly not by accident that this seminar is happening. So how do you see that these cases could be prevented from the Commission side?
Oh, thank you very much. The first question is an easy one. The second one, let's talk about it. What did I change? I slowed down. So even today, after 5 years, I think I don't have my 50 spoons back. Maybe I have 45. So I make sure that I never use more than 45. And if I have to exaggerate one day, the next day I try not to arrive at work that early and stuff like that. So I really slow down. I reduce the number of activities for myself and for my family. No city trips, for instance, last year. Children have less activity. I learned saying no, and that's not very difficult actually, because people accept it pretty well. It's yourself that think that you have to do all these things and that you're a good person if you do all this stuff. But look around you, people are very different. And if you explain it in a non-violent way, not you never put the dish washer, it's always me, but just say, oh, I don't have that many spoons tonight. Do you mind putting the dishwasher to start it? You will see that reactions are very positive. So try to change these little things, but the most important is slow down and the smartphones. I'm not very strict, but I make sure that if I was a lot in front of the computer, I don't take my smartphone a lot. Something else I didn't say, but before you go to sleep, everyone, you have heard it. You shouldn't use a smartphone before going to sleep. Why is that? And it's 1.5 hours before you turn your light out. It's because your brains are too active, and the time it takes to rest from that blue light and all the information you get, you are losing the positives of the first 2 hours of sleep. So imagine you get your 8 hours, or let's say 7, but you were on your smartphone the last hour before going to sleep, because it's your clock alarm, and probably a lot of us use it as a clock alarm, and then it's so easy just to check something. Then you lose the 2 first hours are just like nothing. Remember, these things I'm very attentive. But then if I want to drink a glass of wine and see one day don't go for a walk, it can happen. I'm also only a human being, but I try that the balance, I always think in terms of spoons. Am I okay with my spoons? Am I not exaggerating? Am I happy with what I do? Is my life like I want it to be? And that's important, and that the 10 minutes on the Sunday afternoon thing, are you happy with the way you are living? We have everything. We have good pensions, good health system, good works, no war. But there have never been that much antidepressiva in our society. Prevent that by being happy with how you organize your lives. That was the easy one. What could the Commission do? I think, but of course, sessions like today are very important. I think prevention is important, but not sufficient. Burnout is a mixed responsibility between the society at large. We are in a capitalist society where doing and buying a lot is nice. There are other ways of living. I think in Bhutan, they don't put the same priorities than we do. But you have society at large, difficult to change, but we can, as individuals, choose a different way of living. You have our working environment, companies or public authorities, the commissions, and the individuals. Today I've talked mainly about what as an individual you can do. Your sleep, your quality of life, movement, etc. We've talked a little bit about what your working environment can do. I think recognition is very important of the good work that has been performed. Not too much change, or not permanently change. In all companies, and I know some friends of mine are European functionaries, and we've had the session last week, and putting change all the time, moving offices, putting new computer systems, changing the organization of services. I think it happens all the time with you as well. Okay, but put some moment of rest in between. That will help people to get a level of energy right. Do you have other suggestions? Because you are here, actually, I can put it.
Well, I just have.
Yeah.
I liked your comparison to illustrate this phenomenon with spoons. I just want to give you a good one that my friend he told me once. He compared it with a bucket of water. So you have a bucket of water of 5 liters, and you desperately try to get 10 liters into that, the bucket. So we're always being told, we're always being required to do more with less. This is really, I've been wondering, is there any information about the costs of burnout? How much is it costing? Where is the break even here? How much are our managers aware of this phenomenon? Are they aware of the damages? And what information do we have about this? Thank you.
I just answer on that point, but then I would like maybe to hear from you what you think that could help in your environment to lower the risk of burnout. The cost of burnout, it's extremely high because it's not only the financial cost, because you will pay the salary to that person, but it's also the human loss, because for the person in burnout, for me the years 2014, 15 don't exist in my memory because there was nothing else than just fighting to get back in my body and in a real life. So that was a huge cost for myself, but also for my husband, for the children less maybe, and also for the team that is at work and where the colleague is at home. It puts a lot of pressure on the team, so you're exhausting all the team because of the burnout, and also you never know in advance how long it will take to recover from a burnout. So you don't take a new colleague in place, or you don't change the objectives of the department because you expect the person to come back next month. So it's not only the cost of there are different losses when you lose an individual with it in this. What do you think? Are there things that you would like to see change at the Commission in your work? Yeah.
Hello, thank you very much. I do not have any great ideas on what to change. I just wanted to ask you whether you agree that there is a stigmatization of burnout, and whether how do you see it? Is there a shift or a change towards burnout? And well, what I think is that maybe the problem is also that it's kind of seen as a cool thing to be sending emails at midnight, or to people saying I only sleep 5 hours, and that's what the cool kids do, and the uncool kids, I don't know, they don't do so much, or they get a burnout, and then yeah, it gives a negative aspect to the way the others see them.
Thank you. Stigmatization of burnout, definitely there is. Also, there are some companies, the more old-fashioned, because things change, that don't want to speak about burnout because they are afraid that if you talk about burnout, it will bring people on ideas how to stay at home. Okay, but I'm sure it plays in many heads. Once you understand that it's only the best, more enthusiastic people that get burnout. If you're a lazy one, maybe you have other problems in your life, but it's not a burnout. You want to keep your best people. And so it's important to do a lot of prevention. But yes, there is stigmatization. You know, 20 years ago, the mother of a school friend of 30 years ago died. And I didn't know at that time. That boy was in my class at school, and I've never heard about that story. I found out pretty recently. And what was it? It was cancer. We didn't talk about it. It was a shame, cancer. And nowadays, if someone has cancer, you say, can I help you? Which treatment do you get? Do you want me to take your kids from school? I think it will be the same with burnout once we understand that it's just one of the crazy illnesses of the 21st century because we're doing too much. It's a question of prevention. At the end of the day, it's also like with prevention of smoking and tobacco. Everyone knows it's bad for your health, but still some people will continue to smoke. It will be the same with stress and doing too much. At the end, everyone will understand that that's not very good for your health, but some will still try to see if their body can go along with it. So we won't save everyone, but I think it's very important to do prevention and stop stigmatizing it. And to answer your second question, I think more and more people try to adopt a slow way of life, and that's okay. Maybe it was like bio people with these bizarre wares, but with the time people understand that that's quality. You know, you pay very, very expensive trips now to go to zones with no Wi-Fi and no 3G or 4G, and you pay a premium to go on holiday to these places that your kids hate, not your, of course. But I think things are changing, and if you do your job well, and you will go there with good energy for a long time. There's an example in the book. There are a lot of testimonials in the book because I've interviewed many people. And Sebastian, he said to his boss, actually, I'm not happy. I'm not sure I will not get a burnout one day because you're giving me more and more work. And actually, I don't like the way I'm working. It's a lot of pressure. It's always more. And his boss thanked him. And at the next evaluation, he said, thank you for coming in time to me and not creating a huge problem because you did say nothing. And everyone is happy, the boss is happy, Sebastian is happy again, because he could say, he could put limits. I don't think you get a bad evaluation by others because you put your limits, and we are all different.
I had some ideas. Actually, I had them before already, and one of them you mentioned, which is the increase in the working hours. I was on maternity leave during that time, and I came back and I learned that suddenly we work 8 hours and not 7.5 hours a day. And to say the truth, I don't think it's contributing to an increase in productivity, except that I'm taking 95% to recover that half an hour with my daughter. So we have cases in Europe where people stop working, or companies close on Wednesday, or reduce hours, or in Finland, we always have Finland as an example. I don't know if this would be an option for the Commission, but I think at least going back to 7.5 hours a day, I think for the moment we have an over average in Europe amount of working time per week. And personally, I see no added value of it whatsoever other than creating extra stress and trying
Okay,
to
we
manage
take
your
that
family.
point. There are elections now with a short time.
Trying to manage your family between
Okay.
5 p.m. and 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And
Another
the second-
idea?
Sorry?
Another idea?
Yeah, the second one was, which is creating a lot of stress, I think, is unclarity about the organization of the work in terms of timing. So you've got deadlines, which give you an adrenaline shot, and sometimes you get them in a unilateral way. So without asking, can you do this by? Maybe there is a fear that this will be abused, but you get them in a very, directive way. And although obviously you always have the right to say no, but it's also
Okay,
causes a lot of
deadlines.
stress
Yeah.
to be able to say no in that situation, which is an extra stress. So it would be maybe nicer to have that agreed, if possible, as crisis in the boss and the officer. By when you can do this as a matter of respect. This is the two ideas.
Good ideas.
If I may add to the nice ideas of according what a commission could do, I see pretty clearly now in the DG where I've been working, definitely reduction in the hierarchical level, because we have seen through the modernization of EU legislation where the Commission has put shorter deadlines to deliver anything. What we see in practice, that means that for the desk level officer, the deadline is cut by 50%. So the entire hierarchy chain has the time to approve it and to make sure that it's really uniform and up to EU standards, whatever that may mean. And I'm taking, of course, the cabinets out for this time. So thank you.
Always putting some undue delays because they are still sleeping on the files.
I would have a question. At which, you as an expert and that you went through it yourself, at which moment would you recommend or would it be okay to go to the doctor and say, like to try to sleep longer and introduce physical activity? It's a long-term thing, it takes a long time, but to go to the doctor that's okay, I'm needing a week off now to restart or something, at which point would that be okay? Or what would you say to a doctor at that moment?
I think quality of life is important for all of us every day, but definitely the day that you become, you get some physical pains, or you don't sleep well, because I've tried to put theory in all the stuffs I've encountered, but we are human beings, sort of. Some people will have first sleeping problem before they get physical problems. When you feel that something is not right, go to your doctor. And I see now doctors, for people that are really already pretty exhausted, that say, okay, I give you 1 week off, and I want in the meantime that you find a life coach or a psychologist that will accompany you during the coming weeks to put some change in your life, identify where you lose energy and put some change in your life. Some people are specialized in that. Interesting to go and see them. Well, don't take risks with your health, because the day your dam breaks, it's really a nightmare. And I hear many doctors say, you can't imagine how difficult it is to stop people in time. I, as a doctor, see that they are already completely exhausted, that we go into a huge catastrophe here, and people keep saying, yeah, but in 2 weeks' time it will be relaxer, then I finish my file and I go on holiday. It's the moment where you break, when you stop working that hard. And so listen to your doctor, listen to your colleagues or family that say, boy, are you okay? I think you look stressed these times, and keep open to these things and don't be a bulldozer that goes up to the wall and crashes.
Yes, just I'm quite shocked, and that's why I would like to know if you agree with the definition. First of all, this difference between burnout and depression. I know that in some companies they don't like to recognize burnout because it's part of profession, part of responsibility of the enterprise. Is it true? I know that now we speak about burnout for parents, but in a way for me it's linked to your job first. And then they try to move to depression, where for me it's very different. It can be then a depression, but because then it's your own responsibility. And I think that I'm quite shocked that in some company they start to recognize it and then they re-change their strategy because there were more and more burnout. So I would like also that even in the European Commission it can be much more clarified.
Just a shorter answer. First of all, it's to the doctor. It's a medical diagnosis, so it's for the doctor and no one else to decide what is your illness. That's one thing. And then the second thing about recognizing the responsibilities, there are many discussions in Europe, in France, for instance, or in particular about is burnout a professional disease, yes or no. It's only a financial consequences at the end of the day. Does the company pay for it and repair the damage, or is it the society at large that pays for it? If you want my deep feeling, but other people will give you other answers. It's a personal approach. I think it's a mixed responsibility, I said it before, between the individual and the company and the society, and saying companies must repair for it. I think what would be really nice is if we could identify the companies that have a lot of burnouts, because then you could start saying, hey, let's look in depth how you perform and what you expect from your people and your management methods. But saying that every company should be responsible for the burnouts within your company, it could be a parental burnout, it could be linked to other things. I'm not in favor of that. But if there are more than 1 or 2 or 3 burnouts, depending on the size of the company, say from now on you have the obligation to take a specialized coach and pay for identifying what could be better or function better. That could be maybe an interesting way of thinking about it. I think that the time is running. I have some books.
Maybe last question.
Yeah. And then I have, for those who would like, I have some books in French and Dutch. It costs 15 and in Dutch 20. I have some here if someone wants it. You're most welcome. And I take the last question.
Just a question. Could you tell me how we can resist against programs, information programs that are always fallen out, so that we can't do our work and the deadlines are coming up to us? It's already 3 days, I can't do my amendments. We have sent a lot of emails to several services, and one tells this digit, the other one tells it's the CSE, and what shall I say to the boss? I go home because I'm stressing, I can't do anything here in my office.
You're putting the finger on something that is really painful, but IT problems tend to stress people a lot. Exactly for the reason you say, because you can't do your work and you're expected to deliver, and how can you work with no proper IT systems at them? That's difficult, and you have to escalate it and find solution within your company, but I understand what you're saying, because it's really stressful. You can't work if your IT is not working properly or is too slow, or... You're right. And it creates stress. I can't say anything else, so escalate it to the